What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, going to do another mid-year top 10, and we are going to discuss the 140-pound junior welterweight division. I just want to remind everybody, I just did my second episode of my podcast. It's posted on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's got Canelo as the front page, or as the icon on there, just a picture of him. We talk about him. We talk all things boxing in that. It was about an hour long, so, you got some time. You can chop it up and everything. It's pretty informative. Discuss all the fights that happened recently and all the ones coming up. But let's jump into our mid-year top 10s. It's basically the halfway point on how, everybody at 140 pounds, how everybody's looking. So again, we're not going to talk about anybody that dropped out. I do that at the beginning of the year when I do the, first year, the year-end top 10s. So let's jump right in. Number 10 for the year so far is the former WBA regular champion Mario Barrios. He is not ranked, he wasn't ranked coming into the year, but Barrios got the biggest fight of his career and took on Gervonta Davis, the undefeated two-division champ, who is coming up to 140 for his first time. Now, people might wonder why I'm going to rank a guy who lost the fight, but, Mario Barrios fought his ass off against Tank Davis. He really did. And that was a huge step up in terms of talent that he took on, and he fought well. That fight was very close. When Tank hurt him in the 7th or 8th round, I believe, he put Barrios down a couple times. But then he bounced back in the 9th round and actually won the round on the judges' scorecard. So this is a guy that doesn't go away. He took a big step up in terms of talent, and he fought his ass off, and he lost, but he lost, against a really good, talented fighter. So got to give him his props. He's at number 10 right now at the midway point for me. Now finishing number 9, and he was originally number 9, he came into year number 9 as former IBF champion Ivan Baranchyk. Well, Baranchyk hasn't fought since his fight of the year, where him and Jose Cepeda traded 8 knockdowns last year in 2020. That was a great fight. If you haven't seen it, it was fantastic. They both scored 4 knockdowns apiece. He ended up getting stopped on the final knockdown when it looked like he was pressing forward to score the knockout. But great fight. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Well, he hasn't fought yet, but it was just announced that he's returning on the Paul and Woodley undercard, where he's taking on some little-known guy, and it's pretty much looks like a stay busy fight, between a guy who's trying to be a boxer and an actual former champion, Baranchyk. So I think Barancyk's going to shake off that loss to Jose Cepeda with a knockout win and push forward towards something bigger. Finishing the year, are right now at number 8, and still number 8, is former two-division champion Jose Pedraza. Pedraza ended up returning and taking on a decent opponent. He took on undefeated Julian Rodriguez, and who was a prospect on the rise, was undefeated, and he absolutely dominated Rodriguez and stopped him. So Pedraza is really out to prove that he belongs at 140 pounds and that he's a player. And Josh Taylor, I believe, at some point is going to give up all those belts and move up to 147 pounds. And Pedraza could be in the driver's seat for a world title. ESPN, the Top Rank, is going to keep him busy. I think I'm hoping he fights somebody decent in his next fight, possibly in some kind of an eliminator. But Pedraza is moving in the right direction since his loss to Jose Cepeda back in 2019. Number 7, dropping 1 spot for number 6, is former lightweight champion Robert Easter Jr. Now, Robert Easter returned this year finally after a long layoff, and took on Ryan Martin. Martin, wasn't not the best guy, but definitely a decent, durable junior welterweight, and Easter cleanly outboxed him and outclassed him for 12 rounds, or 10 rounds. I can't remember what kind of fight it was, but it was a very good performance, And Robert Easter is definitely on the rise, in this division, and I hope he can get a decent-sized fight, like for the regular title against Gervonta Davis, even though they're friends, or some kind of an eliminator for an interim title. Possibly he can get Mario Barrios in the ring at some point, something to legitimize his reign and get him in the mix. And again, he's going to want to be in the mix when Josh Taylor gives up all those belts and moves up to 147 pounds, because that's going to leave all those belts open for grabs. Okay, number 6, dropping one spot for number 5, is former champion Victor Postol. Well, Postol hasn't fought yet this year. We haven't heard anything. He hasn't fought since that close loss to Jose Ramirez last year, so really don't know what's going on. I know Postol is widely an avoided fighter because he's tall and he throws a lot of punches and he can take punches. But I was hoping as he gets older, guys are going to want to test the waters against him. But right now, they're not. So I'm hoping he can get himself into that mix also for possibly a vacant title at some point, since he's not really a desired fighter in terms of, people wanting to get in a ring with him. But we'll see what happens. Number 5 is the undefeated Gervonta Tank Davis, who wasn't ranked at 140 coming into the year. He moved up in between fights 2 weight classes. He fought his last fight at 130 pounds, where he claimed the title at 130, retained his title at 135 as both belts were on the line, and he moved up to technically win a 3rd championship and a third title in a 3rd different weight class when he took on the undefeated Mario Barrios. It was a great action-packed fight between the two, and it was pretty much just a breakdown type fight. He slugged it out. He also boxed, and then, when things got tight towards the end of the fight, after he had hurt Barrios, he sat down and boxed and set his punches up, and he ended up finishing Barrios off in the 10th or 11th round and captured the regular title at 140. So Davis, he's now in the mix at 140. I don't believe his next fight's going to take place at 140. I think he's coming down to 135 or 130. He said those are his more 2 desired weights, but that if it made sense, he would fight at 140 as well. I think he's got better options with less of a risk in terms of size and all that kind of stuff at 135 and 130. So we just got to wait and see. But he has a title belt here at 140 now, which makes him a player. Okay, still number 4 is former former 2-time world title challenger Jose Zepeda. Zepeda only fought once this year, kind of a lackluster performance against veteran Hank Lundy, but he's just biding his time until he gets a title shot. He's kind of an avoided fighter. He wants to get in line for the WBC title, but it might be a while before he gets that. So what's a backup option? Top Rank has possibly offered him a showdown with Terrence Bud Crawford at 147 pounds, which I don't think Zepeda stands a chance against Crawford, but it is a big-time fight. It is for a world title. And technically, if he moves up and loses, he can still come back down to 140 and resume his career. But, it's an offer, and he's probably going to get a pretty big paycheck to come down and fight Crawford, so we'll see what happens. Number 3, and still number 3, is former world champion Regis Prograis. Well, Prograis, he's had some up and down news. He's avoided. He was trying to land a big fight. He returned, got a knockout win against low-level opposition. But just recently, just last week, I read that Regis Prograis and Mikey Garcia could possibly be locking horns in the fall, and that is huge. Prograis has been out there saying that the PBC promised him Adrian Broner, they promised him different fights, and they didn't come through. And Mikey Garcia, a showdown with him, oh man, that really is a dream fight for Prograis, and it's a good opponent for Mikey Garcia. I'm assuming they're gonna fight, at either a catchweight or at 147, but Prograis, he's gonna end up being a welterweight anyways at some point, and it's a great matchup. I really hope it gets made, and I hope it gets made very soon and confirmed, because that would be an awesome matchup. Number 2 is the now former unified champion Jose Ramirez. Well, Ramirez rolled the dice. He tried to become undisputed champion. He took on undefeated Josh Taylor in May. It was a great fight between the two. He tried his ass off. He was doing well before he got hurt and put down, and then almost got knocked out in, I believe, the 7th round. But after that, Taylor was just trying to hold on once he realized he wasn't going to finish Ramirez. And Ramirez started to press and won some rounds late in the fight. They went to the scorecards. Taylor walked away with a deserving decision, but Ramirez showed he has a lot of heart and that he's still a real player here at 140. Now, even though he's a player at 140, 147 might be the better option for him going forward, but we're not going to know until later in the year. Ramirez could end up taking the rest of the year off, but and see what happens with Josh Taylor giving up all those belts. But we'll see what goes down. I can't wait to see Ramirez back in the ring. He's a good kid. He's from, local where I'm from in that area. He's from Avenal. I'm about a little bit over an hour away where I live, and I would just love to see this guy back in the ring soon because he's a big deal where I'm from, and he's a really good fighter. And now still number one is the undefeated and now the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world, Josh Taylor from Scotland. Taylor got that big win over Jose Ramirez, his career best victory, and just added to his other career wins like over Regis Prograis in the World Boxing Super Series Finals, his win over, Victor Postal, his win over Ivan Barianchek. I mean, this guy has just really strung it together, and he has proven without a doubt he's the best at 140 right now. There's talks of Taylor moving up to 147, but it looks like the plan as of right now is for Jose Cepeda to move up and fight Crawford next, and then early next year, Taylor would move up to 147 and challenge Terrence Crawford for the WBO title. Now, if that happens, that'd be great, but what does Taylor do in the meantime? Well, I believe he's going to make his WBO mandatory defense against Jack Catterall and defend his undisputed title against Jack Catterall in a local fight in Scotland, in the United Kingdom right there. That way he can draw in a big crowd and really and defend his undisputed title close to home right there. And that would be big for him leading into a showdown with Terrence Crawford next year. If that's still in the cards and that's part of the plan. But it looks like the Teofimo Lopez fight is not going to happen. And that there's not as much interest. Lopez has things to do with Vasily Lomachenko and other fights at 135. So it really looks like this is the best option for Taylor right now going forward. So I think he's going to return against Jack Catterall in the second half of the year, get a win there, and then push forward towards a championship in the second weight class, possibly against Terrence Crawford next year. So we'll see what happens, but that's the mid-year top 10 on the junior welterweights right now. Josh Taylor, so far, without question, is the junior welterweight of the year because of his win over Jose Ramirez to become undisputed champ. Only the sixth man to ever do that in the four-belt era. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.